Hi, Inman community. This is Bondilyn Jolly, and I'm the managing partner of 365 The Agency. We're a full service digital and creative advertising agency that services the real estate community, focusing on business growth initiatives. I'm also the VP of Marketing at REtechnology. And today I have Denis Pepin here sitting with me, who is not only my VP of Business Development at 365, but also is a 30+ year veteran in the real estate field himself, doing everything from serving as an agent to a broker owner to consulting inside of business development. What am I missing? Mortgage broker. What else, Denis?
I don't know. Just a great chef. I started when I was 12.
Well, excellent. Well, we are here today to talk to you guys about recruitment and retention strategies. And between Denis and myself, I think we collectively have probably 40, 50 years in working in business development and recruiting and retention strategies. And so we're really excited to have you guys join us today. So thank you all so much for being here. And Denis, we don't have a tremendous amount of time, so let's just jump right in. Right. So our whole goal is really to help brokers develop long-term sustainable growth strategies for their business.
Correct.
And so let's just dive right in. What's the secret to long-term sustainable growth?
Always recruiting. Don't stop recruiting. And by the way, always retaining too, because retention is half the battle, right? You can get the agents, but you also want to keep them, particularly the ones that are, benefiting your bottom line.
Well, I think that is exactly why our audience is actually sitting out there today, is because they're like, feed us, tell us how to always be recruiting and always be retaining. So. Yeah. So I know, from our standpoint, we go and we take a very consultative approach with all of our clients. And there's really sort of 5 key aspects of a strong brokerage that we always look for. Now, recruitment and retention is one of those aspects, right? But the thing is, if you imagine those 5 aspects being like spokes on a wheel, we need them to all work together and support each other and balance. And if there's something that is broken or weak over in one spot, it's going to sort of, break down that whole, the whole wheel, right? So we've got recruiting intention, but we also have, your finances, obviously a financial analysis. Right. Yeah. Your profit and loss. Like, what did we say? Where the rubber meets the road. It's all about that bottom line, baby.
That's right. Yeah.
But the third is staffing, right? Internal staffing, administrative staffing, people that
support and service,
right, that can support and provide the services and be that voice of expertise that your agents need. We also have the brand and marketing side of the organization, and we'll talk about that a little bit, and then also systems and processes. So what are you doing to support what is the infrastructure of your brokerage built on, and then what sorts of systems and processes, technology do you have in place to actually support the day-to-day of your agents? So those are our 5 key facets. So I'll say those again. So there's obviously recruiting and retention, which is one of those. Your finances, right? Just the sort of the bottom line, your staffing, your brand and marketing, and then your systems and processes.
Right. Good. So where do you want to start?
Where shall we start? So, well, let's talk about staffing.
Sure. Okay. Well, basically, the whole key to bringing agents on is having the right support and services, and understanding, what you can deliver. That's going to determine, where you're going to go and how many agents you're going to bring in and things like that. But staffing is very important, because sometimes, we even find when we're analyzing, helping brokerages understand what the nuances of their recruiting strategies are, we do look at their support and services, their staff, because there are certain points to which, maybe a brokerage is missing a specific segment of support and services, or maybe the support and services that they have aren't delivering what they should be delivering. So it's really, really important to understand, what you can do and what you can't do. And that's going to help you determine, your success in terms of recruiting moving forward.
And I think that's an important part too, of looking at like what, evaluating what your potential agent counts can look like.
Right.
right? Because for some brokerages, based on, I mean, honestly, based on the other aspects of the business, right? The finances, the systems and processes, the staffing, you might not be able to support 300 agents. You might be doing great at 50, 100, but if you start adding a multiplying factor there, what does that look like and how does that play out? And so that's a really important thing that we have to
I
look
think
at.
most of our audience, Bondilyn, understand that, as you incrementally grow your business, you have to incrementally grow your support and services as well. I mean, it's kind of like a no-brainer in that, because something's going to suffer if you don't. One of two. If you got, too many services and not enough agents, then you know where you have to cut. If you got too many agents and not enough services, where it's going to cut you, and it's going to be actually in the agent loss. So it's really important to understand that whole infrastructure part.
Exactly. So Denis, let's actually talk about curating prospective agent lists, because this is huge. We consult on this a ton, right? We have a lot of brokers that will come to us and say, well, I want all the top producing agents in this particular area, right? Everybody 10 million plus, whatever, the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
And, those people are being heavily targeted. And so, one of the things that we really have to look at is like, who is that ideal agent candidate? What does that person look like? I call it an agent avatar, right? So who is that person? What are their needs and challenges? And how do we make sure that they, align appropriately with the support and services, the technology, the brand and marketing of your organization? Because it's not a one-to-one ratio all of the time.
Yeah, it's like so what we do is we'll take a real investigative consultative type of approach, right? We'll actually look at it almost like from a 40,000-foot view of the company, and looking at where they came from, what they have been doing, what they're currently doing, and what their goals are, and then try to understand, or at least help them understand, what is our value, what is the best agent that actually fits the business model that we have. Because even though there might be, a top selling agent out there, we may not have that. We go back to infrastructure. We may not have that support and services to be able to support those type of agents. Or on the opposite end is the brand new agent, right? So it's important to actually kind of look at that and ensure that you can match the right agent with your business model. Because when you put those two together, your success rate in recruiting skyrockets. It really does.
And there could be multiple agent avatars that are right for a brokerage,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
I mean, Denis, we have a client right now we're working with who they love new agents. They have an amazing onboarding process. They've got a great mentorship and training program.
Yep.
And they really, cater to that. At the other end of the spectrum, they have some top producers in their, markets that work with them, because they have really aggressive compensation models. They have, a lot of support and services for them that free those agents up to focus on doing what they do best.
Absolutely. And each one actually has a different requirement with regards to support and services, right? And so, there are some brokerages out there that may have a little bit of everything, but they may not have it structured correctly. And so we can actually help, recognize that. We can help, achieve that and put in those columns, if you will, to make sure that the infrastructure is in place. And then you've got some brokerages who are just flat rate going, no, I just want this type of agent. And that's where the investigative part comes into play.
Yeah. So I think that goes to the standpoint, you and I were talking about this the other day, like brokerages really need to understand who they are, what they do, and why they matter. And they need to understand how they fit into the competitive landscape in their market.
Absolutely. Yeah. One of the key things that and I've talked to a lot of brokers out there that don't truly understand the fundamentals of what a SWOT analysis is. Understanding who your competition is very, very important. And I'm not just saying, from a brand name perspective, it's a Keller Williams, or it's a Coldwell Banker, or it's an ABC, whatever it is. It's understanding what their value proposition is, understanding what their infrastructure is, what their business model is about, because you can determine, based on that, the comparison to what you're currently, situated, where you have all your value, where your benefits, and maybe, some of the detrimental things that you don't have, that you can't compete on. So understanding that plays a long way in terms of being able to select the right agent that actually fits your business model. Because an agent with, another broker, regardless of if it's a brand or an independent, is not necessarily the right agent for you. So having that understanding of your model, and then also understanding in comparison to what is out there, really creates a great advantage for you, especially from talking points when you're trying to recruit that particular agent.
Oh yeah, and I love the idea of having a full competitive analysis on your,
Absolutely.
everybody that's out there, because look at you, Denis. So what we've done with you and what we do with so many of our accounts is we're like, okay, this is who we are. Here's a side-by-side comparison of us versus your brand, and then here is even commission calculators of how we can go through and look at what your financial compensation would be with us versus your current financial compensation. Right. And I think that is such a strong value that brokers can bring to their prospective agents, because it's not like, oh my God, I just want you. I'm just trying, I want anybody. Yeah. It's like, let's sit down. Let's make sure this makes sense,
right.
From a financial standpoint, from a needs analysis standpoint, where are you now? Where are you trying to grow to? And do we have the resources and tools and compensation models that make sense to support you in that trajectory?
Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head, Bondilyn. I mean, it's not always just about compensation. Agents don't move from one brokerage to the next just because of compensation. Because the terminology I absolutely love using all the time is there's always a cheaper place to fail. It really is about the support and services, in addition to the fact of what it is that I can gain from being affiliated with a specific brokerage from a compensation structure.
And that goes back to your opening point, always be recruiting.
Yeah.
Because quite honestly, recruiting, and we can't think of recruiting isn't just dumping out a bunch of messaging out there saying, join my brokerage, right? It's actually about building relationships and connections, building trust, serving as a resource in that community, and being there, 24/7, right? 12 months a year, not just showing up at recruiting season and going, come over. I know I haven't talked or supported you in the last 6 months, but come over and, talk to me now.
The best analogy to this is the agent with the consumer, right? So the most common failure for agents is they'll either send out a mailing piece, or they'll send out some kind of an advertisement to whether a specific, let's say a farm area, a certain community, and they'll do it maybe once or twice. And if they don't get anything, they don't get any immediate response, they just say, okay, well, it's just not working. And the problem is that, it has to be consistent. They have to be top of mind with that consumer. If that consumer is thinking about real estate, that agent's name should come to their mind. Well, what we do in recruiting is no different. It's exactly the same, because, there's going to be a day and time when that particular agent's going to have something happen, some kind of an event that's actually going to make them think, am I at the right place? And when they do, you and your brokerage should be at their top of mind. So it's really no different.
Yeah, recruiting is a marathon, not a sprint.
It is. Yeah. That's a good point. That's well put. Yeah, for sure.
So Denis, I know we don't have a tremendous amount of time left with everybody. And so I know when you and I were prepping for this conversation the other day, we were talking about just some of the really common failures that we see. I mean, we consult with, brokerages all across North America and have a lot of conversations every single day. And so let's just talk about some of the top, failures or mistakes that we see, so that potentially we can help our audience out there today. They might say, oh my gosh, that is me. Like, I need to correct that or address that.
Yeah.
So top failures, go number one. What do you see?
Well, I think, the first one that is what we've been talking about is really know who you are and what you can deliver. That would be number one. And so that at least you have that basis to which you can go by. And then the second failure is that identifying and understanding the agent that best fits that. I mean, in the majority of the companies that are out there that I see, and even happens to me today, will get the same mailing piece or the same email or the same, advertisement that comes across that never changes. It doesn't specifically speak to me and doesn't address the needs that I have. So, infrastructure, knowing what you have and what you can deliver, and then being able to identify the actual agent that actually best fits that specific business model. I think those would be probably close to two of the top ones I think that we see on a common basis.
Yeah, and to carry on with, that ideal agent, I think it's important to create very personalized recruitment experiences,
Oh,
right? Like
great.
you said, it's that idea like, oh, okay, I've got 15,000 candidates in my market area, and I'm just gonna hit every one of them with this
Yeah,
and with this, and everybody's getting the same thing. And
yeah,
I understand, like, if you have no idea who that audience is, like sometimes that broad approach is a good starting point, right? To say, okay, I want to touch everybody and introduce them to
right.
who we are and what we do
With
and
an
why we
announcement,
matter,
right?
right?
Exactly.
But the thing is, as people are engaging with that, and this is so important, there's so many marketing channels that we can use now, a mix of digital and traditional, right? And I think it's so important to touch people in a lot of different ways. And as we're reaching out and touching them, we're starting to understand and capture this is what is attracting them. So Denis, you and I might be, on somebody's hit list, but I'm having a completely different experience than you because I'm over here living maybe in the support and services side of things and wondering,
Right.
how they're going to help me grow and expand, right? And you're over here and you're looking at maybe systems and processes and technology. And so I think that conversation needs to become more personalized and more direct based on people's behavior and engagement with a brand. And I think we fail to see a lot of organizations do that.
Yeah, and you definitely have to be, it's like you said, you definitely have to diversify in your delivery, right? I mean, in order to be able to capture that type of information and see what sticks. And by the way, it can't be the same message. It has to be something different all the time, right? So you're always trying to kind of throw out that it's like the fisherman out there who's not always going to use the same reel when he's trying to catch a fish. They're going to use some different, hooks on the end of that line to try and see what actually works and what's not working. And it really is a constant. It is a constant thing that you have to implement and continue to stick with ongoing.
Yeah, and another failure that we tend to see is just that lack of diversification
Yeah.
of marketing channels, right? And like I had said, we have digital, we have traditional, and I mean, when we're working with a client, we're like, okay, we want to create as many touch points in many different ways with our audience. And so
Yeah.
we will touch them, through email, through text messaging, through pay-per-click, through retargeting, through direct mail campaigns, through call campaigns, but it's all intelligent and strategic at the way that we're doing those campaigns because we're moving people through these more personalized conversation funnels. We're learning how they are engaging with the brand, and then we're helping re-engage and keep them engaged, right? On the channels that make the most sense and where we're seeing that behavior.
Yeah, good point. I mean, we both know, and I'm sure that a lot of our audience members know that, each particular individual prefers a different channel of communication. Some prefer the social media, some prefer regular email, some prefer, regular mail. And it's very, very important for us to diversify. If there's one good thing that has come out of COVID, and that is that we understand now how we can actually rely or how we need to rely and how we can leverage against technology in order to get our messages across and create that environment of communication moving back and forth, right?
Exactly. But you've said it so many times, at the end of the day, seriously, real estate is such a personal game. It's a belly
It
to
is.
belly game. And obviously where you feel safe and secure to be able to go out and engage one-on-one with your prospects, we highly encourage that. But our job is to help to tee that up, to tee those conversations up, to create that brand story,
Yep.
and to make sure that you have people to go out and be belly to belly with when
It's
the time is
relationship
right.
building, right? It's no different than the agent working with the consumer. We're doing the same thing. We're creating that relationship with that particular agent and getting to the point where we can gain that trust. Once we have that trust from that individual, it's far more easier for us to actually recruit that individual than if we're just it's like a cold call, right? Everybody hates cold calls.
Well, speaking of calls, there was one thing when I said to you the other day in our prep planning, I said, what's
Oh,
the
yeah.
number one thing that drives you crazy that brokers are not doing? What did you say to me?
Pick up the phone and make the call. So often I know that a lot of them hate it. And there are options out there that if we don't want to do that immediately, there are options where you can actually engage a third-party resource. We have one of those in our company that we can provide that actually makes that initial phone call. But at the end of the day, it's still a relationship. that agent still wants to know who I am and whether or not, I'm speaking truth to my word. And so it is important to pick up that phone and actually make that phone call.
Well, Denis, I enjoyed chatting with you today. Unfortunately, we're just about out of time, but everybody, we've got a couple of things for you. So there's a link down below, and hopefully it's also in your chat box. And it is a recruitment strategy guide that we have compiled, both from the consulting minds within our group, as well as tapping into some of the top recruiters and broker owners across the nation. So those 5, spokes or facets of the business that we talked about, we break that down in greater detail in this guide. We give you a lot of other tips. And then, like I said, there's a lot of great content from the minds of people like Tammy Bonnell and actually Denis and myself and a lot of our different recruitment consultants, Brenda Thompson. So it's a really great resource. So go ahead, download it using the link below. And then also, if you are struggling with your recruiting and retention, or you'd like to learn more about what we do and you'd like to connect one-on-one with us, you can go ahead and schedule a one-on-one consultation at the link below as well. We would love to chat with you, see what you're doing, see what challenges you're having, and see how we can potentially assist you.
Yep.
Denis, thank you so much for joining me today. Inman community, thank you so much for dialing in. I hope you guys are having a great day of sessions, and we're just so happy that you took a little time out of your day to be with us. So once again, download your guide, schedule a convo with us, and have a great day. Happy recruiting, guys.